This segment of the news is brought to you by Sun Oil Limited.
Welcome back. The judiciary of the Bahamas has implemented stricter protocols in their response to mitigate against the spread of COVID-19. Yesterday, the Prime Minister ordered that a 24-hour curfew be set for the whole country. And while the judiciary was already in phase 1 of their protocol, this has now prompted them to take it a step further to implement phase 2. Chief Justice Sir Brian Morey announced all of the protocols that will occur.
New criminal jury trials in New Providence and Grand Bahama are suspended until the 14th of April 2020, when the position will be reviewed on the basis of prevailing circumstances at that time. Arraignments fixed in New Providence for the 27th of March 2020 are adjourned to the 8th of May at 10 a.m. Arraignments in Grand Bahama will continue subject to strict adherence to social distancing requirements. Bail in the Supreme Court until the 31st of March 2020. Only urgent bail applications will be heard in New Providence and Grand Bahama.
With all cases that must be in person, social distancing will be a requirement. Only those who are absolutely needed in the courtroom will be in attendance, and no more than 15 people at a time can be present. Hearings will also be overseen by the police to avoid overcrowding.
The Supreme Court registries, the Family Registry, the Probate Registry, and the Appeals Registry in New Providence are closed until the 31st of March 2020. The Office of the Civil Registry, located in the BAF Financial Building on George Street in Nassau, will be closed until the 31st of March 2020 and will operate out of a satellite office in Annex 1 during the hours of 1 p.m. to 4 p.m.
In the Magistrates Court on the criminal side, arraignments and first-time pleas will happen on weekdays between 10:30 a.m. and 2:30 p.m., in Grand Bahama between 9:30 a.m. and 2 p.m., and in Abaco between 9:30 a.m. and 1 p.m. Voluntary bill of indictments, new trial dates, part heard civil matters are all suspended until March 31st. New dates will be assigned by the magistrate. Sir Brian also announced that the Magistrates Court in Exuma is closed until further notice, and the resident magistrate has been transferred to Grand Bahama. Well, 3 men in Grand Bahama have already been charged for violating curfew on that island. They were all arraigned in Magistrates Court yesterday, with one being sentenced to prison. The men were arrested on separate incidents on the 20th, 21st, and 22nd of March. Police on that island say 31-year-old Carl Johnson pleaded guilty to the charge of violating curfew and was sentenced to 1 year at the Bahamas Department of Corrections. 22-year-old Adam Oughton pleaded guilty and was fined $500, while 34-year-old James Toussaint pleaded guilty and was fined $1,000 or 3 months in prison. Meantime, 4 other men were arrested between last night and this morning for the same over in Freeport. They are expected to be arraigned this week. Police on that island are sending a strong warning to members of the public that they will be arrested if found in breach of this curfew, as officers will enforce all orders under the Emergency Powers COVID-19 Order Number 2. Some $67,500 worth of drugs are now in the hands of the Drug Enforcement Unit in Grand Bahama after police found suspected marijuana on board a mailboat docked at the Freeport Harbor. Assistant Superintendent of Police on Grand Bahama, Teresita Pinder, says it was shortly before 3 a.m. Tuesday. Officers of Bahamas Customs and Police K-9 Unit, acting on intelligence, boarded that mailboat docked at the Freeport Harbor, where they searched a refrigerator and discovered boxes containing 15 brown tape packages of suspected marijuana with a street value of $67,500. There were no arrests made in this matter, and all suspected drugs were handed over to the DEU. Investigations are ongoing. As the country goes into a national lockdown, Bahamas Air will suspend its services today, the last day of its operation, until March 31st. In a press conference today, Managing Director Tracy Cooper says due to the emergency orders, the corporation is making adjustments.
Bahamas Air wishes to advise the public that in accordance with the emergency power COVID-19 outlined as by the Prime Minister in his national speech last evening, Bahamas is adjusting flights, and as effective at the end of today, we will suspend operations from Wednesday until Tuesday of next week. Obviously, everything is fluid, and based on what the government is demanding from the populations, Bahamas Air will then adjust itself.
Mr. Cooper says its last international flight today were 2 flights to Fort Lauderdale and 1 flight to Orlando. The air carrier also made its last domestic flight to Freeport, Exuma, Abaco, and Eleuthera. Mr. Cooper says if Bahamians are stranded and want to come home, the carrier remains on standby for assistance.
We always take into consideration a contingency plan for Bahamians that are stranded. Obviously, we're not going to really pull that unless there is a significant demand for that. So right now, we're content with the amount of movements. The load factors are indicating that there is not really a high demand for additional flights. So apart from really what the Prime Minister had indicated last evening, we were seeing low load factors anyways. So I don't think there will be a need for additional flights, but we are on standby if the need arises.
A disinfecting exercise has been implemented by the Department of Environmental Health Services, or DEHS, to prevent the spreading of COVID-19. Melanie McKenzie, director of DEHS, says that the cleaning of visibly dirty surfaces, such as roads and sidewalks, followed by the use of disinfectant, is one of the best practices in the fight against COVID-19. The disinfectant will be sprayed from hypo machines, and according to Ms. McKenzie, it is not harmful to pedestrians or motorists. This exercise will be carried out between the hours of 8:30 p.m. to 1 a.m. until March 31st. However, if there's still need for the exercise to continue after this date, the DEHS is fully prepared to do so. Specific areas being targeted are Downtown Bay Street, Porterski Dock, Montague Beach and Fishing Ramp, Shirley Street and East Street, the Fish Fry at Arawak Key, Saunders Beach, Nassau Street, Ponciana Drive, and East Street. Our final stories are up next.
This segment of the news has been brought to you by Sun Oil Limited.